on 115B, right? At the very bottom. Okay. So we were talking about the difference in the Mishnah between the case of the wine and the oil. And we're talking about ziluv, yimos machle. Okay, so the very bottom of 115b, takola atzma tanaihi, the whole idea that, like, we've talking about, like, truma being kept in a tamei truma having any value for the kohen. So we had said that there's a problem of takola that he might come to use it inappropriately. So that is a machlokas tanaim, the Tanya. If you have a barrel of wine that's truma that became tamei, alcohol, just pour it out. Don't keep it around. No, you can't eat it. You can't consume it because it's tamei. You can still get benefit from it. For example, by ziluv, by this kind of using it for an air freshener. Amar Rishmal Brabiosi, Ani. Achria. I'm going to determine the what's correct. At home, if it became tamei at home, then you can use it for air freshener. But if it's out in the field, then you'd better pour it out, because if it's in the field, it has to first be brought home. What if you somehow lose track of what's tamei and what's not tamei? Then you could have a problem. But if it's already at home and you're designating it now it's going to go in the broom closet for being used as an air freshener, then it's okay. Right? Some say Rabbi Shmuel said a little bit differently. If it's old wine, then it can be used for air freshener. But if it's new wine, then it should be poured out. So the difference here would be, new wine has to be kept around until it starts to smell better, until it can be used as an air freshener. In the intervening period, you might lose track of the fact that it's tamei. But if it's already old wine, it's already usable as air freshener, then you'll put it in the broom closet, as I said before, and we don't really have a concern that you might misuse it. Amrlo, so they said to Rabbi Shmuel, "Ein hachrosh lishis machras." You can't, like, a third opinion can't be a machria, you can't say that you're resolving the dispute between Beis Shammai and Beis Hillel. No, you're not addressing who's correct. You're saying in what circumstances do we act like one or the other. So when you say that I'm going to decide who's right, Beis Shammai or Beis Hillel, that's not really what you're doing. What you're doing is you're saying, how do we apply those the lamasa, in practice? Okay, side points. Okay, so the Mishnah said, so this is the case of the wine and the honey, right? The one guy has a barrel of wine, one guy has a barrel of honey. The honey breaks, and the wine guy pours out his wine in order to capture the honey, which is more valuable. So we said that if you do that, it's very nice, but you don't have any claim to damages for the loss of your wine, unless you said that in advance, you said, you know what, if it's okay with you, I'm going to pour out my wine and rescue your honey, and if you assent, then you owe me for the wine. Okay. Amai. So the Gemara says, why does he have to pay? He could say, yeah, when I said sure, go ahead. I was kidding. I never meant to pay you for the wine. I was just joking. Milo Tanya, and what's the source for this idea? There's a brisa. Somebody's escaping from prison. And he gets to a river, and he can't cross the river, and they're chasing him. And there's somebody there with a ferry. And he says to him, Amrlo, told dinar, take a dinar and take me across the river, or which is way too much money for the fare, right? So it's like if I came to the ferry and I said, here's a 20, take me across. But I know that the fee is only $5. Then the ferryman has to give you change, right? He can't take the whole 20. He has to give you the whole five. He has to give you back your $15 in change. Alma, Amar le Meshatani v'cha. So isn't this the same kind of thing? Like when I say, here, take this 20, I'm just kidding. Like I'm not really going to give you $20 for a $5 fare, right? I'm just trying I'm just kidding around. But obviously I was under pressure to take this ferry. Can't we say the same thing here? That the owner of the honey can say to the owner of the wine, when I said I would pay you for the wine, I was just kidding. I said, where it says "Hello, Dami El Sefer." No, this isn't comparable. It's comparable to the end of the brisa, which is the Mamarlo told Yunar Zeb Bischarcha Bavireni. If I just said to you, "Here's a 20, take me across," I expect change. But if I say, "I'll give you $20 to take me across," here's the 20, right? Bischarcha, to take this 20 as your payment, then those are the then then the ferryman is entitled to the entire $20. What's the difference? Like, why is there a difference between the ruling in the two cases? Says, we're talking about the ferryman. He's not just waiting there for passersby to come take the ferry. He's got to make a living, so he's also fishing, right? So the Amrle, so he says, Avsadtani kavre bezuza. I could have been fishing. I could have been catching fish. And that's the $15, the extra $15 I'm charging you is for, like, sure, the regular fare is $15, is $5. You offered me a 20. I decided to take it because not only do I need the $5 fare, but I also need the $15 of fish that I would have caught. Okay. So the next Mishnah was similar case, but if there's two donkeys being swept away and you saved your friend's donkey instead of your donkey, you need both cases, right? It seems that on the surface they seem similar, but the Gemara points out, if we only had the case of the barrel of honey and wine, in the case of the wine and the honey, that if you first say to the guy, I'll save your honey, but you got to pay me back for the wine, fine. Mishum to be a dayim kapasi, because I'm taking my wine, I'm pouring it out, right? I'm actively disposing of my wine in order to save your honey. But in the case of the donkeys, I'm not actively giving up, destroying my donkey, drowning my donkey. Circumstances are that my donkey is also in danger, so I have to choose one or the other. It's not like I'm pouring out my wine. I'm neglecting to get my donkey, so that's not as direct damage, right? It's not. So in that case, I might say, you know what? You don't get paid back for your donkey. Your donkey was already lost. You only get paid for the effort you put in rescuing the other guy's donkey. So the Mishnah tells us, no, that's not the case. You're still entitled to payment for your donkey. The Sefer, what if it only told us the case of the donkeys? Only in the case of the donkeys is if you don't say anything, if you don't specify, I'll save your donkey, but you have to pay me for my donkey. That's when you only get your time and materials payment. Mishum de Mimela, because it's happening anyway, right? I will have some to be a dime, but in the case where I'm pouring out the wine myself, since I'm actively pouring out the wine, maybe I would think that I'm naturally entitled to get paid for the wine, regardless of whether I get your consent in advance. And Mishnah says, again, no, it's the same. Whether it's the wine case where you pour it out actively, or the donkey case where you're just neglecting to save your donkey. You need both. Okay, and the ruling is obvious. The ruling is the same in the Mishnah for both cases. Rav Kana asked, Yar lahatzu, v'yala shalom. What if you make this deal with the guy? I'll save your donkey. I'll let my donkey go because your donkey is more valuable. And then a miracle happens, and your donkey doesn't drown. Right? What's the law? So on the surface, it seems obvious, right? Like why should you get paid for your donkey? Your donkey's alive. But what he's asking is, um, you've basically had yush on your donkey. You've given up. Your donkey is basically hefker because nobody expects it to survive, right? Miraculously, it survives, and you get it back. Do we say that, oh, you never lost your donkey, or do we say you lost your donkey? The other guy owes you because he agreed to pay you for your donkey. Then you found a donkey downstream. It's like a hefker donkey, right? So Rav asks, Mishamaya Rachimu alei. Yeah, you are indeed entitled to payment as if the donkey had been drowned. And God gave you, God had did you a favor and gave you what was really your original donkey back, but it's like a new donkey. God gave you a new donkey, but the other guy still owes you because you abandoned your donkey to be drowned. This actually happened to Rav Safra. He was in a caravan. Lavin hu hari, and there was a lion following them around. So every night they would sacrifice a donkey, right? They would like throw a donkey to the lion. The lion would be satisfied, and the lion wouldn't bother them. Kimata Zimne Rav Safra. Now it's Rav Safra's turn to contribute the donkey to be thrown to the lion. They sent out his donkey. The lion, the lion wasn't hungry that night. The lion didn't eat it, and the donkey came back. Cutting Rav Safra Zachalei. So Rav Safra like actively went and took possession of it. So it seems like like you so just as Rav Safra could take his donkey back and he didn't, like it's implied that he doesn't have to send that donkey out again, right? It's like he got lucky, basically. He gave up his donkey. The donkey came back. He took it back. He's taken his turn. He's contributed his donkey. Now he got a new donkey. That's great. Same. So it would be the same for us, that the donkey should have drowned. God was good to him, and the donkey came back. You got a new donkey, but you're still owed the value of the donkey by the other guy because you abandoned it to be drowned. Says, like, what does Rav Safra? What does he even have to go and like take this action to acquire his donkey? When he gave it up, he didn't say, I don't want this donkey anymore. He's like, I'm giving this donkey to the lion, right? But he's not saying anybody else can have the lion. So maybe there's kind of this yush can be understood as a limited yush or limited hefker, right? So he answered, you know what? Really, he didn't have to reacquire it. It's still his donkey because he gave it up to the lion. The lion didn't want it, so he still maintains his interest in it regarding everybody else. But he just wanted to avoid controversy, right? He just wanted to make it clear, hey, guys, this is still my donkey. So he wasn't reacquiring it really. He was just affirming that it was still his. Rav asked, okay, so back to the donkey case. You get permit, you get agreement from the other guy that you're giving up your donkey. You're going to go save his donkey. You tried to save his donkey, but you weren't able to. So what's the story? Do you get paid for your lost donkey, even though you didn't end up being able to save the other guy's donkey? Well, he says, that's a question. In that case, no, you don't get compensated for your donkey because you didn't deliver. You do get time and materials because you put in the effort to rescue the other guy's donkey. You tried, right? He's got to pay you, assuming you did your best effort, but you don't get compensated for since you didn't save his donkey. You don't get compensated for your donkey. Basically, so Rav asked, so far it's like, oh well, if you hire a worker. Lahavi Kruv Vidurmaskin Lachala to bring cabbage and I've seen this is like Damascus plums, which we call damson plums. Whatever, you're bringing food to a sick person. Or you go and find out that he's not sick anymore, or he's dead, right? So there's no need for to give him this healing food. Still, the guy who sent you has to pay you for your work, right? For delivering that, even though the circumstances have changed. So you get your full fee. So by analogy, you should get paid for the entire for your donkey that you abandoned. So he says, it's not the same thing. Here, you brought the food, you know, presumably you gave the guy the food. Okay, so he wasn't sick anymore. Or if he was dead, like your mission was not to to heal the sick. Your mission was to deliver the food. Whether the sick got healed or not is not up to you, right? But you did your whole mission. But here, in the case of the donkeys, yeah, the guy says, I'll pay you back for your donkey if you save my donkey. You didn't end up saving his donkey. So you can't compare the two cases. Rabbi's taught. You have a caravan going through the desert. And you encounter a military unit, right? That wants to rob you, but you're able to buy them off, right? So they don't take your whole whatever, the whole all the merchandise that you're carrying. They took a payoff, right? Of only part of it. So So how do you determine it's a caravan, it's a number of people, each one has their own donkey's worth of stuff, right? So how do you determine how to split the ransom that you paid? You do it according to, if I have 50% of the goods in the caravan, you have 25%, somebody else has 25%, that's our percentage of the ransom that is paid. But it's not the number of people. Like you could also say, there's 3 of us in the caravan, we each pay a third. No, we go according to how much interest we had in the material that's being transported, the goods being transported. If you had hired a guide to show you the way, then so the guide's fee is also determined by how many people there are, because the guide is not only protecting your merchandise, he's protecting your lives, right? So as far as your lives are concerned, everybody's life is considered an equal amount. So each one pays a third of that portion of the fee to the guide. Regarding the merchandise that he's protecting, it's by proportional to the how much you own of the total. But whatever the common practice is, that's what you should do. Okay, so in other words, the Gemara is giving here's theoretically what you should do, but whatever the prevailing fees are or the prevailing practice, that's what you should follow. The donkey drivers can make a pact that if you lose a donkey, then we'll provide another donkey. All of us will. So Bakusya. So then, if you were negligent with your donkey, you don't have to. They don't have to compensate you. Shlobakusya, but if it's not negligence, but it's things happen on the way, mamidi lo. Then they have to give you another donkey. Bimamar, it's newly vanieshmar. But if you said you know what, don't give me a donkey, give me the money, I'll go buy my own donkey. Ain't showing law. They don't have to listen to you. The point of giving them a donkey is to ensure that you're still part of the caravan, right? Once your donkey is no longer part of it, and we give you money and you sew it into the hem of your shirt or whatever, then you don't care about everybody else's donkey anymore. So that's why we say they shouldn't. You can't demand that they pay you off. They can compensate you by giving you another donkey so that you're still an interested part of the group. So Pshitas, where it says, of course, that's obvious. Why does the Bryce have to say that? What if the guy who lost the donkey still has another donkey in the caravan, right? So then he is still interested. You could say that listen, the guy still has an interest in the whole caravan because he's got another donkey in there, so maybe you should be able to pay him off. No, it's different. It's like if before he had 2 donkeys, he was really, committed. to protecting the caravan. Now it's only one donkey he's worried about. If he takes cash for the other one, for the lost one, if he's only got one donkey, he's not as committed. So that's why the guy with the lost donkey can't force them to pay cash. He has to accept the additional donkey, so that he's got as much skin in the game. Tana Rabbanan, rabbis taught, if there's a ship at sea, Amad alei nachshol latova, and there's a storm, and you're afraid you're gonna sink the ship. Vekilu masa. So what do? You throw stuff, ballast overboard, right? And they're throwing over the cargo. Hashan lefi masa. So again, it's proportional by the weight of the. And now here, the weight is important, not value, right? Because weight is what is going to save the ship from capsizing. So you go by the weight and of the material that's thrown over, not by value. However, as before, whatever the prevailing practice is, that's what you should do, even though in theory it should go by weight.
Say for Yonah.
Yeah, say for Yonah, exactly. Except in that case, they threw the banana overboard.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. And if it's a caravan of ships, or what do you call that? A convoy of ships, then if they all make a deal that, look, we all have our ships here, but if somebody's ship goes down, we'll compensate him. The group will compensate him with another ship, just like we had before with the donkey. Then of the lobachusia, if it's lost because you're negligent with your ship, ain't mamidim, they don't have to compensate you. Shalobachusia, but if it's not negligence, mamidim, well, they have to give you another ship. The perish lamakom shenas sfinos halchim. But if he goes like into a dangerous spot, like you ignore the lighthouse, right? Basically, you try to sail through somewhere that's too dangerous, ain't mamidim, then that's negligence. They don't have to compensate you. So Gemara says pshita. Well, of course, right? That's negligence. Well, the benisan marach kechad ashlo, v'tishur marach ke trei ashle. What's considered dangerous? It depends on the season, right? In hurricane season, you got to stay further away from the coast or from the rocks or whatever. So because there'll be omin nisan l'makom tishrei, and you in the Nissan season, where you don't have to be that careful, you went close enough that you wouldn't have, closer than you would have gone in Tishrei. You might think that that's not negligent because you're just following your usual route. Kamashmalan tells you that no, you have to take the circumstances into account. That seems pretty obvious also, frankly, but okay. Tan Rabbah. Another thing about caravans. Shayara Shahaisim Midbar. Caravan in the desert. The Amad guy is Fitarfan. It was attacked. The Amad Echad Mehan V'isil, but one guy in the caravan was able to rescue, to get back. Like he chases after the robbers and he gets it back. He still ends. So it's like group property that he doesn't get to keep everything that he rescued. It goes back to everybody. But if he says to everybody, you know what, I'm not afraid, I'll go and get our stuff back, but I'm getting it for myself. Like, as far as you're concerned, it's lost. I'll be back tomorrow with the stuff, but it's for me. So then he's the last one. Then he gets to keep it. Gemara says, what's the case here? If the other members of the caravan could have saved their stuff, I feel safe and I'm allowed. Then, like, even if he says I'm going and I'll save it, no, it's like it should be for everyone. Like it never became hefker, right? The idea is that once your property has been raided, you're never getting it back, right? So if that's not the case, if it's the case that you think that we estimate that they could get it back, then it was never hefker. So the one guy who saves it, he's saving other people's stuff. He doesn't have more rights to it. But if it's really hefker, like there's no anticipation, there's no assumption that they could get it back, it's lost. So what does he have to stipulate? right? Why does he have to say that I'm doing it for myself? Right? If it's really lost, and then he goes and rescues it, he's getting stuff that was already hefker. And he does get to keep it for himself. So he answers, we're talking about partners. They're partners in the stolen goods, right? It's not that everybody has their own stuff in the caravan. We're talking about partners. It's jointly owned. And a case like this, the like where there's reason to believe that the whole investment will be lost. So one of the partners can dissolve the partnership in order to prevent that from happening. Amar Polly, so if he says, I'm going to rescue it for myself, that's what he's doing. He's dissolving the partnership, which he's entitled to do. Low Amar, but if he didn't say anything low Polly, then the partnership is not dissolved, and whatever he rescues, it still belongs to both of them. Rava Amar, Rava, different explanation. We're talking about workers, right? Like we had the guide before. You have people, the donkey drivers or whatever, who are not the owners. They're hired hands to run the caravan. So then it's if he's a worker, he can resign, right? And he says, you know what, I'm no longer under your employ, right? I'm not. The caravan's been robbed anyway. So if I say I'm going to go rescue it for myself, I'm doing it as an independent person, right? But if I don't specify that, then we can assume I'm still employed by you, and so I'm rescuing your stuff, and everybody gets back what was theirs. Like Rav, Yamarav, Paul it's employment at will. The Kamma, but if he didn't state that he's resigning, then it's like it still belongs to the owner, to the caravan people. But when he does say, I'm doing this for myself, so in other words, he's resigning from his job, so this is the reason that he gets to keep it. The idea that employment is at will is that the Torah says, the people of Israel are slaves to me, to God, but implying they're not slaves to other people. In other words, no one has the right to control your employment. You have to do it. It has to be all willing. So that's why you have the ability to resign from your job and then act as an independent person to retrieve the goods. Amar Ravashi has a third way to explain it. Excuse me. It's where we've been assuming that either that it's hopeless or that you could get it back, right? But maybe it's kind of hopeless, but if you really are brave or you really exert yourself, you'll be able to retrieve your stuff. So gali dati lasma. So if he states that he's going to keep things for himself, gali dati, if he states it, then liasma. Then if nobody objects, then they're like, yeah, you know what, you're right, we don't really think we can get this back. But locally, that's a laptop. But if he doesn't say anything, you can assume that the owners are still hoping that they're going to get their stuff back. And so when he rescues it, everybody gets their stuff back. Okay. Let's see. How big was the All right. Well, we'll have a fairly big enough tomorrow, but I'm going to say we'll start tomorrow at the Mikvah. Anyway. That's okay with you.
Dr. Call.
All right. Have a good day, everybody.
Yeah.
Okay, he closed up. Okay, got finished.
Really slow.